New specs for every class. Shaman tank and DK Necromancer. Little sample of things to come. I've always said if Necromancer ever hit the game, it's fucking DK. It's got to be a DK spec. I can't imagine it being its own thing. But anyways, let's see what Doran has to say about some new specs that could be hitting the game. I'm sure this is a completely speculative video, but these are always fun to watch.
Think about an Earth-based tank spec for Shamans, entirely supported and could very easily be implemented, or a Demon Hunter that turns to the Void instead of Fel, or even a Void Paladin, because why can the Priests be Shadow Priests, but the Paladins can be Shadow Paladins? Aside from new specs, we got so many old hero classes from Warcraft 3 that have so much lore that are not yet playable in the game. We got the Blade Master, which is one of the coolest classes out there. We got Necromancer.
Blade Master has been one, same as Necromancer, that I've always thought, oh, maybe they'll add it to the game eventually, because there's really nothing like Blade Master currently. Now, people will say maybe Rogue or something. I don't know, they use daggers, but that's not a Blade Master. A warrior, maybe an arms warrior could be considered a Blade Master, but you know, nobody has the look of the orc, you know, with the anal beads around the neck. Like, that's something everybody's wanted for a long time. You could make a monk maybe that looks like this, but they're not going to be, you know, a Blade Master. That's certainly something. New specs that definitely won't be hitting the game.
Out there, we got Necromancers, we got Warden, such as Maiev, and even Farseers. A lot of these are already mixed in with the currently available playable classes, but that is exactly why they can become a new spec and on a brand new class. Imagine a warrior with those mirror images, or a Death Knight turning into a spellcaster and becoming a full-on Necromancer. Let us examine each playable class and what new spec would fit best and how it could be implemented. After all, Blizzard just added a new spec for Evokers, so why not do it for other classes as well?
Maybe.
So while we're talking about Blizzard adding variety, this video's sponsor, Call of Dragons, is literally variety incarnate. If you're a fan of Warcraft 3, you will love this game, as this is a fantasy adventure MMO. You got a whole world of fantasy races, from orcs to wyverns, as well as dragons, the most powerful creatures in all of Temeris. Call of Dragons is a free-to-play PC game where you can do PvP, PvE, as well as guild versus guild and guild versus environment. You have truly large battles. I mean, I'm talking 80 versus 80 here in guild versus guild behemoth battles, like hundreds of players, a literal clash of titans. You can also fight 80 different behemoths, but even more importantly, you can tame them and summon them to use them as a part of your strategy. While we're talking strategy, you can use the true 3D terrain to your advantage with all the natural barriers, and this is only one aspect. Call of Dragons is all about real-time tactical decisions where you can ambush, play cat and mouse, cut off your enemies. I mean, the options are just endless. Now, each faction has their own unique city, human ones with buildings made of wood and stone, orcs decorated with tusks as you would expect, and you can build your own city as you see fit. The world of Temeris is also a world of wonders to explore. You can send your scouts into the mist to learn the secrets, grow rich through the gem mines, or seek the blessings of divine dragons. There is just so much stuff you can do. So it's never been a better time to start. Make sure to click the link in the description or the QR code on the screen, and you can start playing Call of Dragons completely free today.
There you go.
In Warcraft lore, there's so many more classes as opposed to those available in the game, and a lot of them were bunched up with the current ones, so they have the mixed abilities. For example, the Blade Storm from the Blade Masters, or the Avatar from the Mountain King that ended up being assigned to warriors. Beastmasters were also kind of half given to hunters, as well as a ranger and rifleman, but it isn't really that. This is not really the full hero class. However, now in Dragonflight we got a really good precedent, and that is the fact that Blizzard decided to, in a patch, assign a new spec to the Dractyr Evokers completely out of the blue with new lore. They could also done this.
By the way, I do think Dractyr are going to get like all the other specs. I think they're going to get a warrior, or the other classes. I mean, I think they're going to get warrior, mage, all that other shit, because it fits the lore. You could just say, oh well, now they interact with the other races of Azeroth, and they've learned how to do other things. I think that's going to happen. Now, getting Evoker for other races, I don't think that's going to happen, because a lot of it is attached to the fact that they're dragons. Some of their abilities have to do with breathing fire from their mouths or flying with their wings. I don't see other races getting that. It would be weird to me. But I can see the reverse of the lore, where they learn how to do others.
Obviously, so it is not really a new thing. I mean, the druids have 4 specs, which is why I don't really want to cover them much, because I think 5 would be a little too excessive.
Yeah,
of
I don't
course,
think Druids
I'm
would do
not
anything else.
expecting Blizzard to add like 50 new specs in the next expansion and to just create a balancing nightmare for the game, but these are just variations that are heavily supported in
Game's
the
already
lore
hard
that
enough
could
for
very
them to
easily
balance.
work and they could just be added. Blizzard could just add them in patches, mini patches,
No,
just like they did with the Evokers, and now they're all about race class combinations recently, so this could totally add on to that to give more variety and to make the game more interesting. So let's cover some of the most interesting variations we could see for the currently available playable classes that would work really well. In terms of Death Knights, there really are not that many options out there. I mean, after all, they're undead, they are no longer even created, and they have one option that is incredibly well supported, and honestly I think would be the most popular request ever, and that is a Necromancer.
Yeah, I think a Necromancer, a Death Knight would have to wear cloth. I don't think you could be a plate wearer of this. It would essentially be a caster Death Knight. They'd be a caster Death Knight, DPS. I think it'd be cool if they did it. I wouldn't play it personally. I like playing Blood DK, and I like being a Death Knight. I like wearing plate armor, being a big dick, swinging, all that shit. But I know a lot of people would play Necromancer if they ever did it.
Necromancers have been in the game since the RTS version of Warcraft. They're incredibly well developed. They were super iconic in Warcraft 3. They even exist in World of Warcraft as a class. We thought
male because they are battle. I could see that actually. Yeah, I could see a male wearing caster.
That Blizzard was actually going to make, but they ended up switching it with the Death Knights. Now, you might be thinking, I mean, what would be the point? I mean, Death Knights can already raise undead, and yeah, you're right, but this is to them more like a side ability.
Currently, like Necromancy for a Death Knight is really like a side thing. Like they dabble in it, but they don't really go all out. A Necromancer would go full on be a caster.
It is very much like a Paladin priest scenario. I mean, sure, they wield the light, but they aren't really priests. Death Knights are a melee class with some necromantic abilities, but I'm talking about a full-on caster DPS spec that would work exactly like the lower class Necromancer, the animal skull, the robe, and all that stuff. The lore explanation could be that since Death Knights are no longer raised and created, they turn to
Necro is the closest thing to it definitely right now is unholy.
At least a little bit more moral, as after all, Necromancy is almost entirely just dark and forbidden magic. Death Knights no longer really serve a purpose. They don't have a Lich King, Jailer, Creator, or whatever, so they could totally be open to it. Next down the line, we have the Demon Hunters, and this, in my opinion, is a spec I could totally see coming soon, and that is a Void Demon Hunter.
This looks badass.
Sounds a little bit crazy, but when you think about it, it actually makes perfect sense. This isn't an old lore class, but it could be a new lore one. As you may know, Demon Hunters went through this ritual, gave up everything so that they can fight the Burning Legion that has long been defeated. All their abilities are based on fighting demons who are, at the moment, mainly irrelevant. Instead, the Void seems to be arriving to destroy Azeroth, so why not find a ritual to replace their eyesight where they could attack demons to instead detect beings of the Void?
I could see a Void Demon Hunter, because the thing about Demon Hunters is they basically embrace the magic of the thing they're trying to kill. Like the one thing that Demon Hunters did, and Illidan's is the leader of the Demon Hunters, he ate a skull from a leader of the people they're trying to kill. But Demon Hunters, when fighting the Fel, embrace the Fel, right? They use the Fel against the Fel, essentially. So I can imagine the more the Void becomes relevant, Demon Hunters embracing the the shadow and the Void to fight the Void. That could totally be a thing. Their specialty is mastering the magic that they're fighting against. So I could totally see Demon Hunters becoming, wielders of the Void.
Or switch their abilities from being able to fight demons in the most efficient manner possible to fighting old God and Void minions. They could become a
and they were able to avoid
force once again that is out there to save Azeroth.
They were able to fight off the corruption of the Fel and use it, so they'd probably be able to do the same for the Void.
After all, Demon Hunters really serve no purpose anymore. Their leader Illidan is gone, so why not turn to a new purpose instead of just chilling as a relic of the past? Even more interestingly, they have just 2 specs, which is a little bit
they are lacking a third.
How old they are, and I think the Void Demon Hunters could work out really well. For rogues, in my opinion, the most interesting addition would be the old class from Warcraft 3, and that is the Warden. Sure, the Warden is not really a rogue, it is like a mix between a warrior and a rogue and maybe even a hunter, but based on the abilities, it is...
So like a Warden would probably be like a mail or plate-wearing rogue, maybe? More plate-ish, less avoidance, more melee, but that starts to get into warrior, or I don't know. I can't really picture this one. The big one for Rogue was always being a pirate, and they eventually gave that with Outlaw Rogue.
Sort of mainly a rogue. Maiev was relevant in the recent history. She's even coming back in the new patch. We have data mined her. The Wardens are an ancient Night Elven class, and Night Elves
We're gonna get the Warden
now more than they ever did in the past,
and
this class could work out perfectly. They have the blink abilities, the knives, which is already sort of present with the rogues, but most importantly, they have a really unique weapon that is quite different from the general daggers than the stuff the rogues are usually wielding. Of course, this would mainly be a Night Elven themed class, but really it could work out for everyone. If we manage to get the Taurens to become monks from the Pandaren,
oh my god, a Tauren Warden,
everyone into Wardens.
Jeez.
Next down the line, and this is a really interesting one and something a lot of people have actually requested, and that is for the Shamans. While we could be getting something related to Shadow Flame and turning the Shamans more akin to Dark Shamans, I think that would work better for another class. What we would really need is a tank spec for the Shamans, and that is something related to the Earth. It is already supported in the lore. We know the element of Earth can obviously be used for protection. Shamans already use mail armor. They are not light spellcasters, so why not just give them an Earth-based spec that is made for tanking? There is literally nothing stopping Blizzard from doing this, and with all the recent elemental
basically a plate-wearing Shaman. Shaman can already equip, you know, shields and shit. I could see this, yeah. A plate-wearing Shaman dropping some totems to help him with defensives and stuff like that, yeah. I could do that. I think we do need another tanking spec in the game, honestly. Now, I don't know if that would bring more tanks into the game, because to be a tank, you got to be a certain kind of person. It takes a certain personality to tank. There's a lot of pressure involved. You know, you probably have a very large, you know, you're well endowed in real life if you tank, example. But if you're tanking in general, you're going to tank no matter what specs or classes out there can tank. I don't know if adding another tank spec would bring more tanks into the game, but if they did, I could imagine it being a Shaman.
And all this stuff that has been happening, it has never really been a better time. Now, this one is super popular, and that is for the Warriors. At first, I'd say maybe Night Warriors, as that is relevant, but honestly, I'd save it for another class. I'm talking about the Blade Masters, the legendary Orc Warrior class that was
it would be a warrior
back
spec,
in
I can
Warcraft 3
imagine.
with Samuro, and that is just
a leather-wearing
so
warrior
than a regular warrior.
or male.
It would be a little hard to add, as Blizzard already sort of added some of their abilities to the available class, but nothing is stopping them from tinkering around and just mixing some abilities and adding this spec. This would be focused mainly on wielding swords, using mirror images, the Windwalk abilities, and the Blade Storm, obviously. This is, of course, an Orc team class that has...
I kind of imagine Blade Master being a monk spec, but yeah, well, warrior could work.
A lot of lore support. There is a lot to do with this clan, but really nothing is
Fury
stopping
Warriors
them from making
in
this
vanilla?
available to all the other warrior races.
Did they wear mail until level 40 like hunters?
Orcs that can't be given to the
that
other
was a
races.
thing back then.
Now, in regards to Paladins, we really have the most interesting variation, and that is a Void Paladin. Think about it, how we have Shadow Priests that are entirely different than the Light Priests, like they're essentially a different class, yet the Paladins can only wield the light. We have so much precedent with the Void Elves, the Void being sort of this neutral cosmological force, so literally what is stopping Blizzard from giving Paladins a Void spec, especially now with all the crazy hints that have been going around in Dragonflight. These Void Paladins could be using Void abilities for offense as well as defense, so certain types of Void shields. Sure, this would be a newly introduced spec, as we had never seen anything like that, although there was this one Fel Paladin, sort of this anti-Paladin thing back in Worlds of Draenor, so it isn't even really that unprecedented.
I don't know, I don't like Void Paladin because I feel like it goes against what a Paladin is. I just imagine Paladins being like, you know, overly worship the light, you know, super religious, you know, total faith in their craft. I can't imagine a Void Paladin being in a Paladin order hall. That doesn't make sense to me.
Regards to priests, there are just so many options that are just race-specific. We can, of course, get the Witch Doctors, which are a Warcraft 3 class, although I feel like that could be a bit foreign for pretty much everyone else other than the trolls. We could also get certain types of Night Warriors. I know it would be a bit ridiculous, as this is, after all, a Night Warrior, not a Night Priest, but this is all really tied together. I mean, Tyrande turned into a Night Warrior, and she was a priestess of the moon and was related to Elune. With all the recent hints with Elune, Night Elves, and the Emerald Dream, it could be happening. However, something I think could be even more interesting and unique would be Chronomancers, and this is something that is super relevant to Dragonflight right now. As you know, we are going crazy with time travel. The Bronze Dragonflight storyline is all about to explode, and we could get a Chronomancer type class.
Somebody who plays with time, that'd be a mage spec, right? It's what he's on right now. I could imagine a mage being a Chronomancer, but they kind of already do it. I mean, already their lust is a form of, you know, time warping. It's literally called time warp. I mean, that's what they do. I don't know if that would be a separate
time
spec.
To defend themselves and heal. We can see this all across other games, and honestly, I think this concept could be very unique and interesting. Now, with the mages, the options are just endless. There's just so many schools of magic, so many crazy cosmological things happening. We could get the new void mages that are wielding the new cosmological void. However, what I think is sorely missing from World of Warcraft is a buffed up mage, a battle mage, or something akin to a spellbreaker back from Warcraft 3. I don't know about you, but I've always found the Blood Elven spellbreakers super cool back in Warcraft 3. And while they're essentially warriors trained to counter spellcasters, they could definitely be adapted as a battle mage of swords.
Oh, is that what these guys are kind of a callback to? Is like a battle mage? This is pretty badass. I wonder. That'd be cool.
Mage of swords. So think of how we have priests and paladins. This could be like a mage and a battle mage. I know I may be asking a bit too much from this spec, as this could be a whole new class, but I think it could be adapted.
Probably could
shield
be a whole
armors,
new class.
using magic to enhance fighting abilities. If Blizzard managed to get hunters into melee, why not also turn mages as well? And
I mean, we already have casters that use shields. That's what shamans essentially are. So I could imagine a battle mage. It kind of sounds cool.
Be like
actually.
A caster
this is
and
one
a
I never
melee
thought about.
class at the same time. While we're talking about the hunters, that one is a little bit tricky since they already kind of added all of them. Personally, I'd like to see a full-on Beastmasters, although I'd want to see that as a full class. What I think would be very cool though is either a Dark Ranger spec, so something with mind control and certain darker abilities,
some necromancy
with the recent
hunter.
Forsaken Heritage questline, or a full-on rifleman, just as a dwarven one back from Warcraft 3. Although, honestly, with this class, most of it is already kind of there, just without the Dark Ranger, the Sylvanas type. In regards to druids, as I said, they already have 4 specs, so I think it would be crazy to turn these guys into 5 specs, and they already have so much. In regards to monks, honestly, I can't see anything that would be then out of the ordinary.
I think Monk could get Blade Master. That's the one that I thought would get Blade Master.
It's already kind of all there with the Brewmasters and the fighting. However, for Warlocks, the options are endless and just incredibly interesting. Warlocks are the no limits kind of spellcasters where they can go crazy. However, something I could see being added soon are the Shadow Flame Warlocks. Little bit of an unexpected combination. While
Shadow
this could turn
Flame
into a
Warlock,
Shaman, Dark Shaman type spec, the Warlocks are really the most experienced
Elemental
ones
monk.
to wield this type of
Shaman
magic. The mix of Void and Elemental powers that we could recently see in Blizzard develop to a really great extent could be an amazing addition. Sort of like Elemental Warlocks. I know, a little bit crazy. Warlocks are generally super experienced mages.
I could see Shadow Flame being cast by a Warlock. I mean, the Warlocks, that's what they are. They're just like, they embrace any kind of magic that they see as powerful. So yeah, casting Shadow Flame, that totally fits their wheelhouse.
Dark magic, so Shadow Flame for them would even be a little tame, but seeing how potent it is,
like
I honestly think
Airbender.
it would be
a
great addition. Overall though, as I said, I don't expect Blizzard is going to add a new spec in 11.0, but they could maybe do 1-2 specs at the next expansion in some sort of a patch, so they can slowly start balancing things out. Especially for the Demon Hunters, I mean, this would be sorely needed as they really need a third spec. Thank you for watching. Check out the new Heritage questline that was revealed by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on real-world mythology behind the Wild Hunt. See you next time.
Yeah, some of these I could see happening, but the thing is, actually adding a new spec to the game is way more difficult for Blizzard in terms of dev power needed than adding a new race. I see them adding maybe a new race or two before they add a new spec, or a new class. Even a spec is hard, but a full-on class, the amount of balancing and tuning they have to do. I mean, look at Augmentation Evoker. That shit's still broken. We just saw a video where 4 of them just ran through Raid with a bunch of other people deleting bosses like in 10 seconds. So I don't see Blizzard going with any class additions, considering they just added Evoker to the game. Maybe new races, but classes, this is a fun video to watch. Whether or not it'll happen, probably not.